Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to r/Am I the Butthole? Hands down, one of the most fun subs on the internet, where we, completely random people, get to judge others and tell them if they were right or wrong, or possibly somewhere in between. Now, I know this one is a favourite for you guys, so I will not waste another second and get straight into this first post by user/welcome to Favour Town. I, 22 female, went on a coffee date with this guy from Tinder after talking for about a week. On the app, it said he was also 21. When I got to the coffee place, he looked kinda like his picture, but a little younger, making me question his age. So I decided to ask him if he wanted to get a drink later. He started acting kinda weird and looked nervous before suggesting dinner instead. This was odd to me because he'd previously said that he enjoyed drinking. During the date, he also said he worked somewhere else. Then he told me via text, making the whole interaction seem a bit off. At the end of the date, I asked him to drive me home, and when we were in front of my apartment, I brought up the inconsistencies between what he texted me versus what he said, and asked to see his ID. He started crying and apologising and showed me his ID. He was 18. I felt really bad for making him cry, especially because I didn't plan on going on a second date. I told my friend about it, and she said I should have let it go, and there was no need to embarrass the guy. So, am I the butthole? Yeah, look, this one's a weird one for me. I just don't get why this guy would lie about his age on Tinder. Seems kinda pointless to me. So I do want to say, the dude's kind of a butthole. It's just no place to lie about your age. Why would you even do it? Imagine if this came up after he started dating someone and they were like, oh, you're 21. He's like, no, actually, I'm 18. Would have been super awkward. I mean, I guess, OP, you didn't really have to ask for his ID. There was no real point in that. I mean, you weren't planning to go on a second date anyway, but still, I reckon not the butthole. Dude was acting weird, and you decided to question it. And that is fully all right. And now I've got two more serious ones. It's funny because these two stories were posted one day apart, and they have fairly similar themes, so I want to see what you guys think. Here's the first one by user/Bridget Longons. In January of 2019, my husband was diagnosed with a brain tumour. It was in a completely inoperable part of the brain, and was told that he had 6 months to live. He stuck it out and died in October, 3 months longer than he was expected to. He was always positive and decided a few weeks after his diagnosis that he would write letters for our daughters for significant events in their lives. My husband was my soulmate, and the past few months have been difficult knowing I've lost him. We have 2 daughters, Mia, who's 21, and Imogen, Imi, who's 19. All 3 of us have become a lot closer since their dad's death, and we've all really struggled. My husband and I were together since we were children, got married when we were 18, and were approaching our 20th wedding anniversary when he passed. In February of this year, Mia got married to a boy she's been with for about 6 years. I absolutely love her husband, and he's been incredibly supportive during all of our grief. My husband wrote a letter for Mia to open on her wedding day. It's worth noting that my daughters were unaware of these letters. It was my job to give them to our daughters. Her wedding day comes around, and I just can't bring myself to give her the letter. I read it and just wanted to keep it to myself. I had his handwriting and his words, and it felt like he was there. And I couldn't bear the thought of giving that up yet. I was fully intending on giving her all the other letters as the events happened. Last week, Mia and her husband bought their first home together. They'd been living at our home since they got married, and so had a lot of stuff to pack and move to their new house. Mia asked me where her important documents were, passport, birth certificate, and etc. So I told her they were in my top drawer of my dresser in my bedroom. The only letter that was in there was the one I was meant to give to her on her wedding day. The rest were hidden away. She immediately recognised his handwriting, and of course it was addressed to her. So she read it and broke down. She came and found me and started screaming at me, asking how I could be so selfish. I didn't really know what to say, apart from the fact that I wanted to keep it and she could take a picture of it. Both my daughters have called me a butthole and are convinced I'm keeping them from a load of her dad's stuff. Am I the butthole? OP, I'll start with the fact that I'm sorry you had to go through that. It's probably a tough time for you right now. It hasn't been long and the hurt from the event is probably still fresh. But at the same time, this wasn't your letter. It was only yours to keep until the wedding occurred. For a start, I don't think you should have read it in the first place. I want to say you're the butthole for that. And keeping it from your daughter, I'm sorry OP, but you're the butthole. I understand the sentiment these letters hold for you, and how much they remind you of your husband, but they were in no way yours to keep. This is something that your husband wanted your daughters to have. He wanted them to be able to read these letters and think of him and what he would have said to them. Actually, I think it's a very smart idea what your husband did. That way he at least in spirit can be with his daughters when they go through significant events in life. And here's our next post by user/svsvsv. As I said, this does have some similarities with the previous post, so I'm curious what you'll think. I'm an English as a foreign language teacher. As long as I can remember, I've also been a homeroom teacher, which means I had to record attendance, make announcements, help students prepare for various school events, and so on. Middle school and high school students study at the same building, so it's likely to teach the same students until they graduate. I, however, wasn't lucky enough to do so. I've been a homeroom teacher to 2 groups of students. Both times at the beginning of the first year of middle school, I asked children to write letters to their future selves and promised to give them back at their graduation ceremony. This year, my first group of students received their letters, and I must say, they were extremely happy to get them. It caught them by surprise because it had been 6 years since they'd written them. Naturally, I found the second batch of letters. They're due in 2022. The problem is that one of the students had died of cancer when he was in the second year of middle school, and I, of course, have his letter too. When his parents found out about the illness, they didn't contact the school or talk to anybody I know about it. Never called back when I tried to contact them either. They didn't want to have to deal with anything that distracted them from being with their son. To be honest, I hope I'll never be in their shoes. It must have been a horrible time for them. Now that I'm holding this letter, I'm wondering if I should give it to his mother. She cut all ties. We live nearby, and when she passed me a couple of times, she basically ignored me. I don't feel like she holds a grudge on me or something, because there's no reason to. Maybe she's trying to go on with her life and forget the past. There is no doubt that a child's death is a huge blow to any parent. Will this letter make her relive all these horrible events? Will it remind her that he could have been holding the letter at his graduation? What does the letter even say? The envelope is sealed. I feel like leaving everything as it is, so will I be the butthole if I don't give the mother her dead son's letter? And this is one of those other ones where I'm not really sure what to say. I mean, my only suggestion is wait till 2022 and give it to her when her son would have graduated school. Or at least maybe try get in touch with her parents, say, hey, I've got this letter, your son would have gotten it back then, do you want to have it? Ooh, or here's a nice little comment by user/Canadian Anonymous. This is what I would do. Seal it in an envelope, put it in another envelope, include a letter explaining that you found it. Say it was meant to be delivered in 2022. And say you want to leave the decision to her. This will allow her to do whatever she wants with it. She can wait for 2 years, she can open it immediately, or she can never open it if it's too hard for her. I want to say that is a good strategy. You leave the decision totally up to the kid's parents, no need to stress them anymore, and just let them deal with it whatever way they see fit. But guys, feel free to leave your comments down below. Both of the last 2 stories are very sensitive issues, so I'm curious what you've got to say. And here's our next post by user/deleted. So, I've been married to Lacey for 18 years. We have a great marriage and 2 daughters. The 16-year-old isn't relevant in this, and we'll call the 14-year-old Madison. Madison and Lacey have been clashing a lot lately, and that's what inspired this post. So, I absolutely love my wife, but she's ridiculous and vain, and still my favourite person in the world. Lacey cares excessively about appearance and dresses very feminine. She has a hard time with the fact that Madison is developing her own style, and she can get controlling. For example, they had a big fight over an ugly pair of Vans, though Lacey did buy them in the end. Well, I came home from work the other day, and Lacey and Madison are fighting, because Madison cut and dyed her own hair. Now, I think it looks ridiculous. She gave herself effed up bangs, and there is a red streak. But at the end of the day, Lacey doesn't have to go out looking like that. Well, Lacey started crying, and Madison said she doesn't want to be a vapid trophy wife Barbie like her mum. I grounded her for that, but said that I'm on her side with the hair. I'm the biggest pushover with Lacey though. She kept crying about how the kids don't appreciate her, and she doesn't know who Madison is anymore. And when Lacey gets super upset, she gets hysterical. Well, I told the girls they can fix their own dinner. There are plenty of leftovers, Lacey cooks every day. And I hung out in the bedroom with Lacey, gave her like an hour-long foot massage, and helped her relax. Madison told me this morning that she thinks I cuddle her mom, and she blames me for the situation as well. So, am I a butthole for trying to be a good husband? Jeez, this is the weirdest story I've heard in a while. The way you've written this post, OP, I had to keep going back up and double-checking which one was your wife and which one is your daughter. Like, the whole dynamic in your family just seems weird. It feels like you're treating your wife as if she's a child, and then treating your daughters as if they're the adults. It just feels so strange. I mean, looking at the post again, I'd probably give it everyone sucks here, because your wife can't get over the fact that her daughter dresses differently to her, your daughter is just straight up insulting her mother, and you're just sitting on the fence about it, not really doing much. But guys, do make sure to leave your own comments down below. This story is confusing me, so let's move on to this next one by /It'sTheNewDX2. Title says it all. Ever since my brother got his new truck, I've drawn a variety of different sized peepees whenever I've noticed it being dusty. Today he watched me as I drew one on the hood, and apparently was livid. Turns out, he's been trying to catch this phallus artist for a few weeks now, and has lost a few friendships over blaming his friends for the pee-pee drawing. Between the hours he spent watching camera footage, searching for who's been drawing all over his truck, and the friends he's lost, he's been mad. I'm okay with this, but the real a-hole judgment comes from my family. They're taking this as a personal attack on my brother, and are comparing this to straight-up vandalism to his vehicle. They think that this is nothing short of a criminal offense, while I'm still laughing about this. So, am I the butthole? OP, you are totally the butthole. But at the same time, it was meant to be a harmless prank. Whenever you're pranking someone, you're basically by default a butthole. But if the prank is funny enough, I'm happy to call you a justified butthole. And I reckon this little joke was funny enough. I mean, I don't understand why your brother would get so angry over this. You just pull out the hose, wash it off, or grab a bucket of water, wash it off. It really isn't that big of a deal. And here's our next post by user/deleted. Long story short, my mum and dad are temporarily staying with myself and my fiancé in our house. They've been here 3 weeks already, and will be here 3 more. I wasn't sure about moving them in, because my parents, mum especially, can be a bit funny about my relationship. We're both women. My fiancé said that she was fine with them staying, and that being around us might actually get them more comfortable with it. On coming in, mum and dad gave us the whole, "Don't worry, we won't intrude, and you won't even notice us." And predictably, within 24 hours, we were acutely aware of their presence. They react to everything we do with a comment or them pulling a face or something. They told us once to save it for the bedroom when we kissed, and be told to put the bedroom eyes away when we just looked at each other. They're good about knocking when we're in our room, but communal areas are presenting a serious issue. Then, tonight, while I was cooking dinner, my fiancé came into the kitchen. I asked her to set the table, and as she walked past me, she touched my butt. And Mum saw. At dinner, Mum said we needed to have a talk, and went on to say that she saw the PDA and she would appreciate a little more discretion. And then basically went into a longer version of save it for the bedroom, but this time adding that we're stuck together. So let's try and make it comfortable for everyone, and presented it as a hygiene issue because we were in the kitchen. This really annoyed me. Honestly, it's annoyed me for 3 weeks now. This was probably just where I hit boiling point. But to be actually sat down and given a talking to about PDA with my fiancé in our own home at 28 years old would probably make most people hit boiling point. I said that this is our home and we should be able to express affection, especially as we're doing them a favour letting them stay with us. So not only will we not go out of our way to make them more comfortable, but we're going back to our regular PDA levels starting now. Mum said this was the opposite of what she wanted going into the conversation, and she feels that I'm being immature by saying we'd go heavier on the PDA from now on, and said, "We're still your parents, young lady." I responded, "And this is my house, my roof, my rules." My mum then got up and stormed into the guest room, and has said she won't come out until I apologise. My fiancé is happy I said something, and I admitted I should have a lot sooner. But Dad is pushing me to apologise. Not for the rest of it, but specifically for the use of my roof, my rules. As Mum used that on me constantly as a kid, and feels I'm throwing that back in her face. But Dad is being otherwise reasonable, and says she shouldn't have talked to me like that. It's just that one phrase has really upset Mum. Am I the butthole? Look, one distinction that I would like to make is I'm curious whether your mum is just against affection in general, or if it's because you are a same-sex couple that she's more strict on this stuff. Like, some people just don't like others showing affection in public. To them, even kissing, even if it's in your own home, is like a big no-no. But apart from that, I want to say OP, not the butthole. I can just imagine the satisfaction you had when you threw that line back in your mum's face. Years of her doing it, and she finally got a taste of her own medicine. At the same time, I don't really want you to end your relationship with your mother, so I do suggest you be careful, sit down, talk to her about it, and work something out. That will make the next 3 weeks a whole lot easier. And guys, I think this post will be the last one for today. You may have noticed I've been doing a couple extra videos over the course of the last few days, and I hope to do that for at least a few more weeks. My regular upload schedule is still Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, but I've had a bit more time lately, so I'll try to slot in a few more. But with that said, that will be it from me. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.